What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so in this particular video, I want to do part two of a two-part question that one of my subscribers sent to me in a video request via donation. And the first part of that request was the video I did yesterday. How would Shaq, the 2000 version of Shaq, fare on the 1972 Lakers squad? In this part two, it's the opposite. How would the 1972 version of Will Chamberlain, how would he fit and perform on the 2000 Lakers team? Um, so this is the thing. Let me say this first of all. This is all subjective. This is just my opinion. None of this is etched in stone. And at the end of the day, your opinion may be different from mine. It's all fair. Only thing about it is I just don't like when people start getting disrespectful and believing that their opinion is the only correct opinion, especially in matters like this when it really doesn't matter at all what we think because these scenarios will never happen. But anyway, this is just what I think, all right? I think, first of all, Wilt is not the same player at this stage of his career. He wasn't even the same player that he was 2 or 3 years earlier. Well, 3 years earlier. So look, in this role, in this scenario, Kobe's not quite Kobe Bryant yet. He's getting there. He's improving by leaps and bounds every game, every season. He's getting better. His confidence is through the roof. I mean, his confidence was already ridiculously high, but now it's through the roof. But at this point in time, he had supplanted Eddie Jones as the man, as the starting shooting guard for the Lakers. I think Eddie Jones left prior to the season. Either he was, I can't remember whether he got traded or whether he left via free agency. But I know he went to, I think, Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken, where he had some really, really good years. But Kobe Bryant finally was in the starting lineup, and he performed very well. I can't remember what his scoring average was, but I want to say it was around 15, 16 points a game, right? So he was getting there. But he clearly was not an equal partner. He was not on Shaq's level as far as the pecking order on that team from offensive standpoint. And while he was a rising star, he wasn't quite yet a superstar. As a matter of fact, as hard as this is to believe in today's world, Glenn Rice was a bigger star at that point in time, or at least the more established star. And there were big expectations when the Lakers acquired Glenn Rice. Matter of fact, now that I remember it, yeah, it was a trade because that's how the Lakers acquired Glenn Rice, and that's how Eddie Jones got traded to the Hornets. Now I remember. Look, guys, this was 25 years ago, so I can't remember everything, damn thing. I'm not Mary Lou Henner, not Mary Lou Henner. What's her name? What's the actress from Taxi? Is it Mary Lou Henner? Yeah, Mary Lou Henner. Mary Lou Henner can remember every day of her life. Now that's what you call a super memory. At least she, at one point, did. But anyway, I got a really good memory, but it's not like that. But anyway, look, this version of Wilt would be expected to be more of a scorer, to provide more. More of the scoring load would be put upon Wilt Chamberlain. So unlike with the 72 Lakers, I think that he would shoot the ball more. And I think he would probably be the number one scoring, at least expected to be the number one scoring option. The problem is, even though I don't question Wilt Chamberlain's, I don't question his stamina because remember in 1972 he averaged 42 minutes a night in a much faster paced league compared to 2000. So he's going to play every day. He's going to play hurt. He's going to play with broken bones or fractures. He's going to play with aches and pains and back pain. He's going to play through all that because he's a warrior and he's competitive. Um, and he's, despite what the media likes to spin it, he was a winner. But what I don't know about is him being able to handle, at that point in time, the rigors of being the old Wilt Chamberlain every single night. There's going to be some inconsistencies. You know what I mean? There was some attrition there. There was some battle scars. He wasn't quite the same Wilt. There would be nights when he gonna put up 40 or even the occasional 50-point game. But to consistently do that, well, in that league, in that era, I don't think he would have averaged 50, but could he have averaged 30 a game every night? I mean, for the season, it's possible, but I think what would have been better is that Wilt should have been the leader of the scoring should have been more distributed. Like instead of Shaq putting up 30 and the next guy being Glenn Rice maybe putting up 19 or 20, I think in this scenario, Glenn averages 22, Wilt might average 24, Kobe might average 17, and then there's diminishing returns afterwards. Because I just don't think that Wilt would have been able to consistently dominate offensively the way that he would have been able to do before that leg injury. You know what I mean? But everything else that Shaq provided, Wilt would have improved upon. Now, I do wonder whether or not Wilt and Kobe's personalities would have clashed initially. I do think initially their personalities would have clashed. Wilt was a boastful, bravado, machismo, somewhat bossy, slightly moody at times, shit talker. Kobe wouldn't have backed down from Wilt. There would have been some initial friction, but I tend to think that Wilt would have been won over by Kobe's toughness. He's arguably the toughest player we've ever seen, at least in the last 50 to 60 years. We would have, he would have been won over by that. Kobe's work ethic, I think, would have also won over Wilt Chamberlain. How hard he played, how hard he worked, I should say, on his craft would have probably inspired Wilt to be even more of a workhorse himself. But I also think that Kobe would have been impressed by Wilt Chamberlain's strength and his work ethic. It would have been refreshing. Well, I guess in this scenario, it wouldn't have even mattered because I guess either Shaq left somehow via free agency early in a clause or something, or whatever the case may be. But instead of him seeing Shaq consistently arrive, in training camp, 40 or 50 pounds overweight, chomping down cheeseburgers, whatever, this will playing through injuries, playing hurt, playing so many minutes, what I'm saying, bench pressing 570, 580 pounds, just the gargantuanness of this man would have meshed with Kobe. I think they would have been, I think they would have gotten along, is what I'm trying to say. Now, look, Shaq was good, but I think Wilt is a better rebounder. Wilt is a better defender. Wilt is a better shot blocker. Wilt is a better passer. Wilt would have improved his team on so many different levels. I don't worry about his stamina. Outside of that freak injury that he got in the 69-70 season, or I should say I have to worry about his endurance of being hurt. Because outside that season, Wilt played damn near every game. Okay? So that's not going to be a question. The man averaged 46 minutes in a game in his career. He's going to play all 82 games, just about. He's going to average well over 40 minutes a night. He's going to play hard on both ends of the floor. If the Lakers won 67 games with uh, Shaq, I think they set a winner's record with Wilt. Because remember, the 72 Lakers won with an old Wilt Chamberlain, an old Jerry West. Gail Goodrich was probably the closest player to his prime at that point. A lot of those other guys were kind of long in the tooth, but they were the best at being. They were probably the best. That was probably the best team that Wilt played with, as far as or played on, not as far as talent, but as far as being a unit. Um, Everybody bought into what they were trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention the fact we also got to factor in Phil Jackson in this situation, right? I think also playing with Wilt probably would have made or helped Kobe to be a little bit of a better team orientated guy. Because I think Wilt was a better look, at this point in time, Wilt was what, 36? Wilt was a better and more patient person as far as being a teammate and a leader than Shaq. Shaq was just a bossy, I'm the general, I'm pulling rank type guy. Wilt, from what I can tell from reading about him at that stage, would have been more of a coach. Because remember, this guy, the next season, he went to coach in the NBA. Wilt would have saw the talent in Kobe and would have wanted to cultivate it, but have wanted him to avoid the mistakes that he made, Wilt, when he was younger. You know what I mean? To be a better teammate, to be more patient with lesser talented players, to be more encouraging of guys. And I think it took Kobe a few years to realize that while he was the best player, in order to win, you have to instill some confidence in players. You know, you got to be a better teammate. It takes that. It's not all about how great somebody is. Your teammates have to feel like they're valued out there on the court. Your teammates also, I feel, have to give a shit. All these guys out here today, they don't give a shit, man. They're just playing on a team, going through the motions, and then after they punch out, they live their lives. They don't really give a shit, man. You know those types of players. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit out of I'm getting away from the point of this video. Look, I think that Wilt would have been a good fit at that point in his career from a mental standpoint. He was trying to win championships, no longer concerned about individual accolades. And but yeah, anyway, if you're trying to get more technical about it, I see that Laker team leading the league in scoring because Wilt would have gotten them more buckets because they would have got a lot of transition buckets with him out doing outlet passing. I could see Kobe getting dunks. I could see Wilt wasn't going to this was not the same Wilt that would have been galloping up and down the court 1959, 1960. So it's going to take him a little bit longer to get up the court. A little bit longer. Still a little bit faster than Shaq. But Wilt would have been more damaging in a half-court situation. A little bit of a liability in fast-court situations because he's a little bit slower. But, you know what I'm saying, as far as on the defensive end. But, man, can you imagine the damage that Wilt would have done if guys was trying to, like, penetrate to the basket, that version of Wilt, compared to Shaq? I mean, Shaq averaged what? Like 29 and 30 and like 2.5 blocks. I think at that stage of his career, Wilt was still averaging in 1972. I think he was averaging like, what, 18 and 20 unofficially, like around 6 blocks a night. So, I mean, what would you think he would average in 2000? Like maybe I give him 24, 15 rebounds, and maybe 4.5 assists. Probably, um, shit, 4 blocks a night, maybe. But I'm gonna tell you something. I think Wilt probably would have played more in the high post, and I think whoever was power forward would probably have to be somebody like a Horace Grant, right? You know what I'm saying? Somebody that could score on, you know what I'm saying, the pick and roll. Um, Somebody that got like a nice little 10-foot mid range jumper. Hell, I could even see Charles Oakley being on that team. Somebody, yeah, maybe like Oakley. Somebody that had like a nice little 10-foot, 12-foot jumper. Give you little easy buckets. You know, Wilt getting double teamed, Charles Oakley knocking down the 10-footer. Charles Oakley and Wilt dominating the boards. Can you imagine those two on the same team as a front court players? Oh my God, man. They would shut shit down. They would be the two greatest enforcers in the league in NBA history. Think about it. Wilt Chamberlain and goddamn Charles Oakley. Now I know Robert Orr was there to stretch the floor and all that, but you know, and that makes sense. But man, can you imagine those two playing together, Charles Oakley and Wilt Chamberlain in the front court? But Wilt's going to make everybody better because I think Wilt was a higher IQ player than Shaq. So yeah, I think this team wins a championship. And I think Wilt is a net positive on the squad compared to Shaq. And I know that sounds weird because Shaq was at the peak of his powers and Wilt was not. But I just think that Wilt, even though he wasn't on the same level as he had been in his years prior offensively, I just think, to me personally, I just think Wilt was a better basketball player than Shaq, man. I'm sorry. I just think he was better. You know? And he didn't just have brute strength. You know what I'm saying? I know we see highlights of him dunking over people and all that. But if you think about it, Wilt really didn't dunk a lot compared to Shaq and some of these other guys. Remember, it was outlawed. Well, not outlawed, but dunking was frowned upon in college and in the pros. It wasn't outlawed to the mid 60s, but in college. But dunking was frowned upon. People forget Wilt had a mid-range jumper, he had a fadeaway jumper. He used to showcase that a lot in his earlier Warriors days. He had the jump hook, he had the up and under move. You know what I'm saying? So he had a variety of moves that, he wasn't Akeem Olajuwon, but he showcased a decent offensive repertoire combined with his strength and athleticism. He was a beast, man. So I think that he would have been a net positive. And I think ultimately they could have done something. You know what I'm saying? They could have they would have fit together. And I think they would have won a championship. And by the way, last point I want to make in this video. What was this competition at that position at this stage? Hakeem was fading. Patrick Ewing was faded. David Robinson was falling apart, although he was on a very good Spurs team. Who was the competition at center at this point in time? Let me see. Rick Smits was in his last year with bad feet to retire after this season, 2000. You got Mourning, but Mourning was beginning to have the kidney issue, which caused him to retire temporarily. You got Dikembe Mutombo, but he's starting to get past his absolute prime. Jason Williams, the center for the Nets, had to retire by this point in time because he fractured his leg in preseason. Remember that? So think about it. What big men are there at the center position that's going to really stop Wilt Chamberlain? Arvydas Sabonis is in the league, but he's past his prime. So yeah, at the end of the day, if Shaq did what he did, I could see Wilt in a final series or playoff series putting up huge numbers. Absolutely. But anyway, that's all I got to say about. Tell me what you guys think.